the next verse, John 1:18. Can we read this together? No one has ever seen God, the only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father. He has declared him. Again, he makes it clear. What is the Son doing? He is declaring God. He is manifesting God, revealing, explaining, expressing God. But he doesn't just say it. He doesn't just say, the only begotten Son, he has declared him. He adds that little phrase, notice. The Son, who is in the bosom of the Father. Listen, he was in a loving relationship with the Father. The Father loved him. He loved the Father. Every moment they were in this love union with one another. But he wanted to bring all that into reality for man. Okay. But in John 1:14, it's kind of interesting. It says, and the Word became flesh. That doesn't sound too good, right? Flesh? Why didn't he say the Word became man? But he said the Word became flesh. Flesh, even Paul said, in my flesh, nothing good dwells. The flesh is an evil connotation for man. It doesn't mean, though, we have to be clear, it doesn't mean that Christ, in his incarnation, took on the sinful nature of man. No, he was, and you have to look at the next verse, Romans 8:3, especially at the end of the verse, God sending his own Son in the likeness of the flesh of sin. In the likeness. When you looked at him, he looked like everybody else. Just look around. Are we all sinners? Yes, we're sinners. We're this is the way. This got into us, and this is what we're made of. Well, he looks like all of us. He was a man, but he only came in the likeness, of the flesh of sin. Another verse that kind of helped explain that is when in John 3, when the Lord was talking to Nicodemus. You remember what he said? And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man, he himself, must be lifted up. And you remember that pole that he put the serpent on? What was that serpent made of? Brass. It was made of brass. Did that serpent have any poison? No, it had the form of a serpent. Moses put a brass serpent on the pole. It wasn't really serpentine. It just had the form of a serpent. But the Lord said, that's a picture of me. Even so must the Son of Man be lifted up. I look like everybody else. I'm a man. I don't have the sin nature. I'm not. He knew no sin, but he's there in the form of sin, the likeness of sin. But he was there taking care of all the negative things in the universe. Praise the Lord. Then, I just want to kind of clarify something. Make sure we're clear. Number one, when God came, the creation was the setting. He came. He was incarnated. He was a man. Everything he did was an expression of God, and he was so precious. Every word, every statement, every action. And he was wooing the disciples. He was winning them. And they were stubborn at times. They were arguing over who's going to be sitting on the right hand, in the kingdom. And they're always going ahead of the Lord. One time the Lord told Peter, "Get behind me, Satan." He just looked at him. Peter had a good opinion and some advice for the Lord. And the Lord said, "Get behind me, Satan." This was Peter. But the Lord was he was just wooing them. He was captivating them. You all know Alexei. His mom and dad, I knew them when they were young. Actually, I remember being at a dinner table and they were single. And she came from a real nice background. His dad was somewhat rough, kind of wild. anyway, he's there, and we have some people at the table, and he said something like this. He said, Elaine Strain, you just wait. I'm going to go to Rice one day, and I'm going to marry you. And she just, she was like get that little flea off of me or something. Gary, don't talk like that. And he did it another time. We were having dinner. He said, you wait, Elaine Strain. I'm going to marry you one day. She was not interested, to tell you the truth. She was a little bit too sophisticated for Carrie Robichaux. Anyway, you know what he did? He wooed her. He went after her. He attracted her. He did go to Rice University, of all things, it's a good school, and began to win her. Eventually, I couldn't believe it. He won her. They got married. This is awesome. Well, this is a picture of what the Lord is doing with us. He's wooing us. He's winning. He did it with the disciples, and now he's doing that with us.